Welcome to the podcast, Angie. I'm so happy to have you on here.
Yay, awesome. I'm so happy. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So obviously, I love your brand and your CBD brand. I think you're like one of the funniest people that I've ever watched on social media. And just like for me, I really resonate just because you're very authentic. I think unlike a lot of other people, you just kind of like wave the freak flag kind of thing. And I love that. Like it's
Yeah.
so authentic and it's so relatable. But so for those of you who maybe don't know who you are, just introduce yourself and yeah, anything you want to share.
Yeah. Oh, that's so sweet. Oh, yeah. So in a cliff notes, it's funny when I introduce myself now because I feel like I have so many different roles, but when I was in
Mhm.
college, I started a blog, and this is, gosh, 13, 14 years ago. Started as a health and wellness coach that transitioned into marketing coaching. And then now it's really transitioned into lifestyle content and influencer. I own Soul with my brother, which we'll get into. It's a DTC brand, a
Mhm.
wellness brand that we own that we started 4 years ago that now is blown up. And that started as just kind of a silly, what if this works idea. I'm a speaker, a podcaster, a comedian. And yeah, now my big life goal is to go be a comedian. So it's definitely had its transitions over the last decade, but I mean, how boring would life be if I was still doing the same thing I was doing 13 years ago anyway? So,
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
yeah,
And I love that you're diving into the comedian stuff because
yeah.
I have this as one of my save videos. You did a video where you were I don't know what it was. It was like the Bitcoin guy with like the wig and he's like calling the mom and, oh, I can't pay my
Oh,
rent or something like that. Like I love
Brian. Yeah, Bitcoin Brian.
I like I probably have watched that video like 20 times. I think it's like the funniest thing. And like I definitely make fun of like the bro marketers from YouTube and it's like, oh, like I'm gonna stand in front of my rented Ferrari and like I'm gonna help you make
Right.
8 figures like from one video or like this email sequence or my buy my book and I'll make you, you can make $1 million in your underwear doing nothing. And like I love
Thank
that. So
you.
I
Yeah,
I resonate with that so much.
that one was really fun to script and film. And then I have a new one coming out called Bros Who Podcast. So get ready. It's
Oh
basically
no, I
bringing
love
Brian
it.
back and the funny things that dudes say when they're podcasting. So Brian is making a comeback.
Oh, I'm excited. Yeah, it's so funny. It's just like it's so relatable because you really see these idiots with their, on YouTube and anyway,
Yeah.
okay, cool. I just wanted to let you know I love that video. I'm a huge fan of that video
That
and
just
the
inspired me to
character.
bring Brian back even more. I'm like, okay,
Oh, you have
Clubhouse Brian.
to. I think like so many people resonate with the fakeness
Yeah.
of all that and like
Yeah.
yeah, there's so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this podcast is definitely catered around like female founder stories. So you have your CBD brand. We can definitely talk about that. But like what I would love to just talk about is like what the beginning stages of that business. Like what made you start it? What did the early days look like? Anything you want to kind of share about that journey? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Soul has been a very interesting journey because when my brother and I own the company together. He's the CEO. I do a lot of the creative direction. I help with social media. I overlook the bigger picture when it comes to marketing and creative. I joke and call myself the CFO, the chief fun officer. So my Mike does the day to day. It is cute when people think I'm the CEO. I'm like, oh no, 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 no. I am not a CEO. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm a creative. I am not a operations gal at all. But he's running the day to day, but it is pretty incredible. Now we have a team of 25 people. I mean, it's gotten
Oh,
really
wow.
big compared to what it started as. Yeah, when it started, it was in my kitchen in LA, and I was taking CBD for anxiety, sleep, and pain. Mike was taking it as an athlete for a lot of pain in his body and inflammation. And it was kind of a joke. We were like, hey, what if we put our heads together and we started a business? I had somewhat of a following in a community. Mike was loving the product and he had a community as well. So we thought, okay, well, we at least will have a few customers when we start. So
Mhm.
let's do this. And we went to farms to get the sourcing and all of that. We flew out to Kentucky and Colorado.
Hmm.
And it's crazy because we put about 60 to $70,000 of our own money into the business. And we at the time, I mean, that's a chunk of change. It's not like $1 zillion, but it's a chunk of change where we
Mhm.
thought, okay, if we never see this again, financially we'll be okay. We have other jobs, but should we risk this? Like we could turn this $60,000 into something great, or we will never see it again and we fail. And I'm
Mm,
very Enneagram 7. I'm like, the world's endless, right? Like let's just try anything and everything. And who cares? I love throwing money at stuff. And Mike's very logical and he's like, let's think about this. Let's, put
mm.
it into an Excel document. I'm like, let's just go. Let's just see what happens. Money is money. Who cares? So I'm not always the smartest with some business decisions. So don't take that as advice, but we complement each other very well. So we put that in, and man, it's been now 5 years of the craziest roller coaster, because in the beginning, we were shipping out of my house. I mean, my house was the warehouse. We were
Mm.
literally packaging stuff. I was putting our stickers on, our branding. We got from 99 designs just because we were on a budget when we started.
Love that.
And from there, it's really grown. And like I said, now we have a team, CMO, CEO, or additional operations, COO, and it's grown now into an 8-figure business, and we're going to be selling in the next year or two. So it's just like so crazy to think
Oh.
that it started as kind of like a joke one day.
Hmm.
In just full honesty, I was like, yeah, let's make a business out of it. People need this. And to be honest, we did look at the market at the time, and CBD at the time was really good timing. I think that's important to keep in mind when it comes to business, is not only knowing your niche and your demographic and who you're speaking to, but the timing of what you're launching. And at the time, the wellness industry was booming and people were really interested in CBD. And
Mm.
it grew from there, and we've focused a ton on affiliate marketing. I would say that's one of the biggest initiatives that's really moved the needle in our business, our branding. And yeah, our branding and affiliate marketing has really been the focus over the last few years. And it's just crazy to think, because when we started, we were pretty certain we would just be a CBD tincture line. And then we branched out into gummies. We have a sleep drink coming out in a few months. And then we
Mm.
actually have products that are non-CBD coming. So we have rebranded to Soul, and we're not Soul CBD anymore. We're a wellness brand that is gonna have some other products that don't include CBD. So it's crazy how in just 5 years it's changed so much. The mission and the growth of it is just it's all evolved when we thought it would just be a CBD tincture company. So sometimes you just got to ride the wave, and we've just constantly been pivoting as we've been going. So
That's so
yeah.
interesting. And I love that because I sold my first business. It was not as big as your business, but it was definitely a huge, it's like a huge milestone in any like entrepreneur's life. If selling a business is
Mhm.
just really fun. But I know
Yeah.
for me, like if I ever do another product business, I will only do it with the realm of like, I will sell this one day. When you guys were
Yeah.
starting, did you think like, oh yeah, we're gonna sell it? Or was it just like, because I never, again, I was very like new in the entrepreneurial space. So I didn't think like, oh, I'm gonna sell this. But um, did you plan on it when you were first starting or?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We have Built to Sell. That if you
Mhm,
any of the listeners have read that book, Built to Sell, it's a phenomenal book that
mhm,
basically breaks down the difference between building a company to own it for a while and essentially buy yourself a job for a while, which can be great. Honestly, if you're paying
mhm,
yourself well and it's working like a machine, why not? And then there's building a company with the intention of, I mean, it's a totally different game plan, but it's the intention of somebody is going to buy this one day and take it over. Now, the only reason we've been very clear on Built to Sell since the beginning, and I'm very transparent about it. I know you're like not supposed to talk about it as the founder because people are like, oh my God, what's going to happen? I'm just like, why
mhm.
not tell women? Why not just be honest about what we're doing? The only reason why we did is because CBD, unfortunately, is such a weird industry with the legalities of it and blah, 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 which is so silly and stupid. It's like 2023. It's so weird that it's still a conversation. Like, what? But unfortunately, there's some weird stuff with the borders with Canada and all that stuff. And there's a lot of headaches with it. So we want to get out and then go into something that doesn't have as much restriction when it comes to
Mhm.
ads. I mean, the fact that we've done so well with restrictions when it comes to our paid marketing and even what our influencers can and can't say. I mean, it's crazy. So we're like, wow, imagine what we could do if we didn't have handcuffs on when it comes to uh,
Yeah.
the legalities of the cannabis industry. So yeah, our margins are incredible, but then we can't say certain things that are just like we should be able to say like this made me sleep better. It's like, well, wait, how do you have to word that? So it's like
Yeah. Gosh.
it's sometimes it's a headache for sure.
Yeah. Oh, that's so awesome. I need to read that book too. I've heard about the book. I just haven't read it yet.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
fascinating.
I know. There's one of my resolutions for 2023 is to read a business book every month. And
Oh,
I've read two. They're very money and money mindset focused right now, but I'm always looking for new ones. So I'll have to
yeah,
grab that one. So
yeah.
um yeah, so talk about like the early days a little bit because I know like you had a community, you had a following, your brother is coming in like with a different what's it called? Like left or right brain type situation.
Yeah.
Like loves the Excel sheets. How did you guys when you guys were first launching, like did you think it would grow like this? Did you have the vision? Because I feel like you're also like a visionary person. Did you feel like, okay,
Yeah.
we're gonna build something fucking awesome here?
I knew it would do well. I didn't know it would do what's happening now, but I had a feeling it would do well just because again, like I said, I'm kind of like an eternal optimist. I'm like, let's go. This is going to do awesome. This is going to work.
Mhm.
That's like always my mindset when I go into stuff. But
Yeah.
Mike and I had owned a business previously, a food distribution company when I was in
Oh.
my early 20s because
Hmm.
I was like, "Oh my gosh, I have this genius idea. There should be healthy food delivered to people's doorstep." Like, oh, I don't know, HelloFresh is now like $1 billion business. And I'm like, wait, I had this idea. What the heck? So we started it, we tried it. Oh my gosh. My best advice for anyone is don't ever go into the food industry. It's the worst industry you could
Hmm.
ever go into. Why would you get into food? I don't know if you want to go broke. Like it's just, we had salmon dishes that would like go bad and we
Oh
had a
no.
factory and we had chefs and we knew nothing about the restaurant industry, nothing about food. I was just like, people need healthy food on their doorstep. My friends and my mom were like dropping off the stuff in a little van. Like it was hilarious. So
Oh my God.
that ended up not doing well. So I think in the beginning, Mike was he was a little bit more risk adverse where he was like, okay, let's just play it safe. Let's play it safe. And I'm like, let's spend money to make money. He's like, let's play it safe. So he's
Mhm.
really come more onto my side and I've learned a lot about his side. But especially when it comes to marketing, like a lot of these big DTC brands, you'll see they're pumping out ads, they're spending a lot and they say they're
Mhm.
making a lot, but they're spending pretty much as they're making. So they're not really in the positive. So we've really done a really good job of balancing. Like we spend a lot on ads, but we're very profitable. We're actually profitable right now. Where a
Mhm.
lot of companies they're not. So I think that's always kind of been the dance of like, how much are we spending to still stay profitable so we can be sellable to somebody? It's like a constant dance. So yeah, in the beginning, I had a feeling it would do well, but I think that is I'm very honest with people about how important it is to have some sort of community and or do some market research around your product before you launch to make sure it's something that people want and to listen to your customers. So I've been very customer centric with Soul and I've really obsessed about what do they want? What do they want to see next? What's the next flavor? Sending out surveys. What do people actually want and working backwards versus just like, oh, we
Mhm.
have this awesome idea. I don't know if people want to buy it. Let's see if people buy it. I think that's like the kind of the wrong way to obviously do business. So yeah, I think that in the beginning I had an idea, but it wasn't until we brought on team members that I really started to see, okay, this could really grow into something. But then it got scarier too, because then you have all these salaries. So I think it's like we knew we
Mhm.
needed the help when it got to the point where two of my best friends and my mom were helping us to package stuff and ship stuff, and we couldn't do it anymore. But then also like, oh my God, this is scary to hire on our first full-time employee. So
Mhm.
it's like it's been a lot of just scary moment after scary moment, but that's where trust comes in. As cheesy as it is to say, you have to trust, like, okay, is this gonna turn into something bigger than we thought? And so yeah, and I think now Mike's dealing with a lot of selling a company comes with a lot of headaches. I think people think it's sexy and fun and glamorous and oh, well, you're just gonna have all this money and what do you it's like, no, you first of all, you gotta pay out a lot of taxes. Second of all, there's other people who have equity. Third of all, like all the paperwork and everything you have to do and finding it's like it's quite possibly the most stressful thing you'll ever go through, they say, in the business is the end right there before you get the
Mhm.
cash or whatever it is you get. So I think people think it's like sexy and glamorous. And I'm like, no, I think Mike's ready to lose his mind.
Oh no.
I know I'm just honest with people, right? Because you see like the whole founder's story. You're like, oh, they're just going to be, set for life. And it's like, I don't know.
Yeah. Oh my
I don't know. It's
God.
going to come with a lot of headaches. So, but very, very grateful. A lot of it has grown because of affiliate marketing and our obsession with getting people to spread the word. I've always been huge on that. Like, get your customers to tell their friends about it. And
Mhm.
that's our focus right now in 2023 as well, even more so, is how can we get more influencers and affiliates to share about us.
I love that. And like that's pretty much so I'm writing a business book and it's literally called Customer Obsession. So I feel like
Oh my
we're
gosh.
on the same wavelength because that's how I grew my first business. I
Wow.
didn't use paid advertising.
Mm.
I was this little teeny person trying to figure out how the fuck to do all this stuff. And like I was like, okay, well, the low-hanging fruit is like creating an awesome experience for my customers and then
Yeah.
having them turn into like my brand evangelist and promoting me for me or promoting the brand for me. And it works. And so many people don't utilize that. And they just run into
Totally.
like, I have to do paid ads. I have to do Facebook ads. I have to spend all day on Instagram. But it's like, get your customers to promote you for you. So yeah, I love that
Yeah.
so much. And it works.
Oh yeah. And customer service. We have like 5 girls right now who we make sure every single email is answered to. It's answered to well. People are taken care of. I remember in the beginning, I mean, listen, when you're in the beginning of a physical product brand, things break. You don't have your
Mhm.
shipping. The process isn't clean yet. So we have glass tinctures. We've got these gummy bottles, and we would, of course, here and there, you're going to get what happened to this. What do I do with this? And I remember just being like, whatever serves the customer, do
Mhm.
it. I don't care if we lose $5, $10. Every person this happens to, send them another bottle, send them this, do this. Like, we're always going above and beyond. Like, if it makes them happy, do it, send it. And I think a lot of people are nervous to do that because then you're losing money. It does. It's cost us money and time and energy to do that. But I'm like, I'd rather pay someone. I'd rather bring on another customer service person and make hundreds of more people happy who are then going to tell their friends that they had a
Yep.
great experience with us than not. Because I mean, I'm a consumer. I buy stuff all day long. And there's times where
Mhm.
I'm like, oh my God, I want to return a t-shirt or change the size or just something simple. And you don't get any, it's so hard to have that human touch anymore. It's like
Mhm.
impossible and it sucks. It's like just trying to buy a t-shirt over here. And
Yeah.
so yeah, we're really on it. We're obsessed with customer service. It's like one of our biggest things. And I just really think the brands that are going to stand out in the next 5, 10 years are the brands who are still obsessed with customer service versus like, oh, we'll just put a chat box there and like hopefully it works.
Oh, yes.
Right? It's like, no, you got
Yeah.
to answer your people, especially if people are paying or spending a lot with you. And we have people who spend a few $1,000s a year with us. It's like, hey, we're going to make sure that you're taken care of. And here and there, if something breaks or you need an extra of something, like we're going to send it. So I think being very liberal with your mindset of your product and taking care of your customer, it
Mhm.
always it always pays off. Not only just emotionally, it feels good to give back, but it does. You just notice like weeks later, someone will be like, oh my God, because you treated me like that, I told my sister and my friend. And then it just
Yeah.
I'm so glad you're writing that book because it's sometimes not measurable though. That's why people don't want to do it because they're like, well, if I'm nice to Susie Smith and
Yep.
send her a replacement product, what's the point? I just wasted $40 in shipping. It's like, yeah, but you don't know who Susie's going to go tell. And it's just, so it's
Yeah.
hard to measure it like financially. So if you're just focused on the ROI, a lot of times people are like, well, whatever, who cares about the customer? Let's just focus on the ROI. But if you focus too much on the numbers and not the people, you end up in a pretty bad situation.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And I think like a lot of people just look at that, they think of a customer buying as like a one-time thing, but they're not thinking big picture. Like, okay, if I get someone in once, I fix the customer service issue, they're going to come back and buy again. Like, what's the customer lifetime value? And just like you said, like they're going to tell their friends and then those sales come in. So
Yep.
yeah, I am like a customer experience freak
Yeah.
and it's like I used to obsess about that for my brand too and I think so many people don't do that because they think kind of in like a small mindset like oh my god I have to I'll lose $5, I'll lose $10,
Yeah. Yeah.
um
Yeah. I mean, I have friends who are launching some brands and on Etsy, she has a candle shop and she said that she's like, well, I don't want to spend the extra $5 in shipping. Like her candle broke. I'm like, dude, you have to, like, this is
yeah
the game. You
yeah
have
yeah
to be willing to sacrifice the now for the long term because Mike
mm-hmm.
and I have spent so much on that and technically didn't make as much for years. Now we're going to end up with a nice chunk of change. So it's like, yeah, it always ends up paying off because it isn't the sexy, like, oh, you just pay yourself a ton in the beginning. In the beginning, it's like, no, how can I make sure my customers are taken care of, my team is taken care of, and then you pay
Mm-hmm.
yourself. So I think there's just so much of it that needs to be demystified too, because
Mm-hmm.
I think people think it's just easy and simple. But yeah, customer service It's everything. It's so important. It's so important to remember that these are humans who are buying from you. It's not just a little
Yeah.
number coming in a machine. But I think it's hard now because everything's digital. You forget that that's a real person with a heartbeat. You forget that that's a person who cares and who needs help. So it's easy to just see it as numbers.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And like I think it's always important too for a small business is like how can you separate yourself from Amazon, you know? It's like you have
Yeah.
to humanize your business, you have to humanize your brand so you're not another Amazon or like how do you compete with Amazon? So but yeah,
Yeah.
and also you mentioned like the chats and all that. I think those are really challenging because like
Mhm.
you type in a question like I need help, my candle broke, and it's like you get the little AI person who gives you like 75 different choices and you're like I just want to fucking talk to a person. Just like when you call your bank, it's like do you
Yeah.
want, are you a returning customer? Are you a new customer? Press one for this, press three if you're like an alien. And you
Yeah.
sit there
Yeah.
for 10 minutes unless you start screaming into the phone like
Yeah.
customer support, customer service person.
I
It,
know.
it's and that
Yeah.
experience for customers is very frustrating if you don't make it easy to access, not access, to access like someone to help you, you're just
Yeah.
pissing your customers off. So,
Oh yeah. Yeah. No,
yeah.
I think honestly, even if you don't have a physical product brand, I think with my personal brand, I'm trying to always answer everyone. And people think it's crazy, but it's my job. This is what I do full time. So of course, me sitting there and spending an hour and going through and answering DMs or
Mhm.
it's I love to do it. I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't naturally just want to be a community builder. So I think you also have to have a passion for that. If you're wanting to get into this kind of business, whether it's a personal brand or a physical product, you just have to love people and actually want to help people because if not, it's not a good idea to get into. In that case, you might as well just do like drop shipping on Amazon or something where you don't have to interact
Yeah.
with, or I don't know, where you don't have to interact with people, I guess.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
And when did you just like going back to your earlier days of the business, when did you feel like, okay, wow, things are taking off? What was that? Is there like a moment or like maybe a certain year that you've had your business where things shifted from like, okay, I'm shipping these from my, I think you said your house
Yeah.
to like, okay, we have a warehouse, we have a team of 25 people. That's a lot of people. Where was like that shift?
Yeah. I feel like there was a few moments where I remember Mike calling me and he was in LA at the time and well yeah there was a portion where we were both in LA and then I moved to San Diego and I remember he was like, hey, this is like we need to hire more people, like we can't be, it's not making sense for us to be shipping this ourselves anymore. What do we do? And you have to
Mhm.
take that leap of like, okay, well, we're saving time, right? Or money because we're the labor. But then you realize like, no, 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 you're not. Like I was still building my brand and speaking and podcasting and doing stuff. I couldn't be sitting there packing up boxes and stuff. So yeah, we just got to the point where we're like, okay, this is like a big leap for us. And we finally could financially afford it, but it was scary to finally take that leap. And then I remember when we made our first $100,000 month, that was when we were like, oh my God. Mike
Wow.
was like, we were rich. And I was like, yeah, we've made it. I was
Yeah.
like, life is, we're set for life. And then you realize you have to like pay out everyone and all this stuff. And you're like, I'm not rich.
That's a lot
You're like,
though.
woo. And then you're like, okay, yeah, oh, taxes. Okay. Anyways, I'm broke again. But no, I think that was like a surreal moment of like, oh my God, like this is working. Like people are buying this. And then the subscriptions, I think that was huge when we were like, wait, like we have so many resubscribes. We have thousands of people on subscription now. So it's like
Oh
that
wow.
to us was surreal when we had our first like 100 people on subscription. We were like, oh my gosh, this is people want it again. People want it
Mhm.
again. They do like it. Oh, it works. I mean, like we knew it worked, but like they like it. They like the taste. We're very taste centric. So we were kind of like nervous of subscriptions. We're like, okay, if we could just get like 5 people on and then 10 people on and then 50. And I remember thinking like 100 people on subscription was like, oh my God, again, like we've
Wow.
made it. This is crazy. So I think each time we've had those little milestones, we've been really grateful. And it's been kind of like a surreal moment. Cause again, like I said, our intention was to just have a small business in LA, maybe sell it at some shops, see what happens.
Mhm.
But then it quickly, yeah, it got to the point where Mike was like, hey, if we're gonna do this and I'm putting so much time into this, let's go all in. Like, let's do this. Let's build this to a huge multi-million-dollar brand and sell it one day. And Mike's a little bit more money focused than me. I think he's has a huge heart, but he that's a driver for him. I'm a little bit
Mhm.
more like, what's the experience and is it going to be fun? But he was the one who was like, we're going in, we're doing this, we're going to make a shitload of money. Let's go. And I was like, okay, I guess. So it's been interesting to have that like dynamic of it where he's like the man, he's like purpose, like we got to be focused. And I'm like, but are we having fun with our customers? So it's been
Yeah.
interesting. But yeah, there was a few moments like that where you make your first, whatever that milestone moment is of the sales or subscriptions where you're like, wow, this is becoming a thing. And I had one of my events, Pace Be Brave 2018. And I remember that was a big moment too, because I had a live event with a few hundred women. That was one of my first big ones in San Diego. And I remember there we had like a huge weekend of sales. And that's when we really noticed like in person meeting a lot of our customers, how much they loved it and how much it was helping them. And that was another moment of like, wait, this is real. This is happening. So we've had a few of those little moments.
That's amazing. Also,
Yeah.
like $100,000 a month that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
I'm
especially when
rich.
you're selling product. I mean,
Yeah.
there's costs involved for sure. So, but yeah,
Mhm.
it's been interesting because it just shows that if you're really focused on the customer and you're obsessed with the branding and the creative and the things that more so have to do with, yeah, making the customer happy and that whole
Mhm.
process, the money comes from that. But if you just focus on that, I just don't think that's the smartest way to do it anymore.
Yeah.
Because then you, like we said, you neglect the customer.
And I also think too, you're like, I'm a big packaging person. I'm
Mm.
obsessed with like the poppies of the world. And if
Yeah.
you have
Well, that's a
bright.
big inspo. We've used Poppy a lot in our branding meetings. So,
Oh, really? Yeah.
mhm.
They're like I literally was having a podcast this morning with someone where we were talking about starting businesses. And I was like, you know what? Want to know my dream? I was like, I have a dream of starting a cold brew in a can, but it's like cold brew in a can, Poppy style. And then she was like, I've never
Yeah.
heard of them. And I was like, how have you never heard of Poppy? Like they
Yeah.
are branding geniuses. And like it's very
Yeah.
simple. It's like the little strawberry with like, yellow straw, or I don't know what color it is anyway, but it's just so fun
Yeah.
and it stands out and it pops off of a shelf if you
Yeah.
go through like a Target or something. So yeah, I just wanted to point out like your packaging is
Yeah.
beautiful. The branding is beautiful.
Oh.
It's like so fun and colorful.
Oh,
So,
I hope you like our new packaging coming because we have a whole new brand coming. So I'm like, oh, let's see if you like the new one. I think you
oh
will.
really?
We're just more flavor focused now more than ever. So that's our niche in the
Hmm.
wellness and CBD spaces. We're flavors. Our gummies are obviously very delicious, and so we're really trying to lean into that. So our new labels, you'll see it has it's very poppy-esque, which I've used on a lot of our mood
Love.
boards because obviously, like, look at my
Mhm.
nails on my shirt. I love poppy. So
I love
we've
it.
used that a lot for the inspo. Like they're a flavor brand, they're drinks, we're a flavor brand. We're just something, we're a supplement. It's similar but different. And you see a lot of the fruit on our new branding.
Hmm.
It's a little bit
Love
more
that.
like colorful, not cartoonish. I don't want to say cartoon, but it has more of a playful, colorful, flavor forward feel to it versus the old one with the bubbles and the white was a little bit more like modern sleek-ish. This is a little
Hmm.
bit more playful even, which I think Mike was a little nervous to lean that way, but I and Clay, my partner, my fiance, he is a really has helped a lot with the creative direction and he was really helping us to lean into that. So when we made that
Hmm.
decision, we were like, okay, if we're going to be flavors, like let's make our label look delicious. Let's when you see that strawberry in the label, you're like, I want this gummy right now. Like the strawberry looks so juicy and so good. So yeah, that's our focus is literally making it where the label itself makes you hungry. You're like, oh my God, I need to eat this gummy right now.
Oh my God, I love that. I can't
Mhm.
wait to see it. That
Yeah. I'm like, I hope you like
sounds
it.
good.
Ah, I'm nervous.
I will. I will. Yeah, but I do think like in terms of just packaging, not only just stuff that like pops off of a shelf, but when people are scrolling through social media and scrolling through like here are the best CBD companies to buy from, and when you're scrolling through a blog post and you see this beautiful bright or beautiful thing with branding on a package, like you naturally are going to stop and like, oh wait, what's that one,
Yeah.
so I think that's really smart to go like the fun.
Yeah.
I think you can't go wrong with that route, like fun, colorful. So I love
Yeah,
that.
I think Mike's fear was like, okay, well, this is more female leaning, this is more of like female
Hmm.
leaning. And I'm like, okay, listen, bro. One, our customer base is like 70% now women. Two, women are mostly the buyers in the home, even if it's for husband, they're the consumers. So it's been proven we're the buyers.
Hmm.
So I like that. And I obviously was pushing for that. I'm like, okay, I don't want it so girly that you feel like it's like a dude doesn't want to pick up the gummies. He's like, okay, this is kind of like feels girly to be eating or whatever. But I didn't
Hmm.
want it so but I did want it more playful. So I think that's always been our dance is like, how do we keep it fun and playful, but it's not so girly that Mike's like, really, this is like a little like, come on. So
Yeah.
we're always balancing that out. But I mean, most of our customers are women. So it's kind of like whether we wanted that to happen or not, we might as well cater to that demographic.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think obviously, you guys have done a fantastic job if you are,
Oh, thanks.
planning to sell soon and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. Do you feel like once you sell, do you want to do another product business? I know that you mentioned earlier, like wanting to go beyond the CBD so you don't have all the restrictions. Are you thinking of doing like another company or like what would be next for you?
Yeah, that's so interesting. I think Mike's already been thinking of that because I think a mistake a lot of people make is they don't do anything then and then they become depressed because they're like,
Mhm.
well, I don't have to do anything now. And it's kind of like
What do you
Mike and I are
do?
just both so young. So I think there's still obviously endless time to still do a lot of fun stuff. And
Hmm.
I don't know. We're kind of noodling on that. He would like to do possibly a sleep company. So we would just be sleep products like sleep gummies and drinks. And that's
Oh.
really been a skew for us. That's our biggest skew by far. I mean, it just blows everything out of the water. So we'd like to maybe expand Sleepy. So we'd either launch a sleep company, which would be like baby grandma-esque, which would be kind of fun. But I personally would love to launch if I do keep into products. I don't know if I want to keep going into products, to be honest. There's a lot. So I don't
Mhm.
know. I like more of just content creation and it's lower overhead and it's more fun for me. But if I was to and I had a partner and someone who was building it with me, I think I would then want to get into once I have kids, I want to do like a mom product. Like once I'm pregnant, I think I'm going to
Mhm.
get some cool ideas of like things that don't exist in the mom or pregnancy world, like some crunchy lotion or I don't know. I think that will be my next niche. I just have this feeling of like that's going to be like my thing that I'm going to be really obsessed with that I'm like wanting to launch. I just don't know what it is yet. So that's my idea. So
I love
those are the
that.
two things brewing.
And I feel like there's always when you go through like I have my son is 7 now, so it's been a while. But
Oh,
like when you have pregnant or like you're in the mom stage, there's so many phases with babies to toddlers to like
yeah.
young adults really and like there's so many problems to solve with different variety of products. So I feel like you're
Right.
someone
It's a great demographic. It's, I mean, not only
Mhm.
business wise, really smart, but if you're passionate about it, it's like, it's so easy to talk to because you know who you're talking to.
Yeah.
And you just seen all my friends go through it. There's like little things like, oh, I wish this existed or I wish this, or there's just still such unhealthy products out there for babies and kids. I mean, it's not an industry that genuinely cares about your kids' health. So it's like, what could how could I help with that in some capacity, whether it's the toys or the diapers or the food, or I don't know. Like there's just so much that's toxic. So I'm like, oh, maybe I'd go into like crunchy mom stuff. I don't know. That's always kind of been like on my head. I'm on my mind of like an idea, but
Yeah.
I don't know if I would do that with Mike then but regardless, I would if I did do it again, I would of course similar. I would have a CEO, I'd have a team, um, and someone to balance out my weaknesses. And then I think Mike similar would want to have it where he's partnering with someone where it's like they're bringing the creative and he can run it or I don't know. He also wants to just take the money and he wants to be a surfer full time. He wants to have a surf shop. So
Oh, nice. Oh, that's so
so
cool.
he also just wants to live in Costa Rica and surf. So
Oh
we
my
don't know. To
God.
be determined.
And there's obviously time to like figure out those decisions. But yeah, I feel like once you have a
Yeah.
business and then you like sell it, it just like the world is sort of just one big opportunity. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
amazing.
That's exciting. Yeah, no one ever
Yeah.
asks me that. So that's like a really good question. I don't think I've
Ah,
ever like answered
cool.
that ever. I'm like, I don't know. Like we think about it, we talk about it kind of, but
Hmm.
yeah. You see a lot of people when they sell, like it's the common thing is like they get like really sad after because then they're kind of like the game is over and they've
Yeah.
worked so hard building this thing that feels like a kid. It's like we've grown
Hmm.
it, we've been there with it and so they get sad because they're like, well, I don't feel like I'm part of something anymore. So I do think it is
Hmm.
important for founders who like to be busy and want to continuously feel like they're part of a new thing and that feeling of birthing something into the world that's creative. I do think you have to quickly start a new brand or something just so you don't feel a sense of like, well, what's the point now? And then you don't, I just have had so many friends who, I
Hmm.
mean, huge exits. I mean, $100 million exits and like are more depressed than you'd ever imagine.
Wow.
It's really sad. And it's something that I think people need to talk about more because I'm like, what is going on here? Like, what is the correlation between they have
Hmm.
everything you think you'd want on paper and they're still not happy? So it's just a reminder of not only fulfillment, but like if you're a creative person and you enjoy doing this, it's it's not all of a sudden going to be fixed when that's over. You have to still be doing that and expressing yourself creatively or starting things. So yeah, that's been like the craziest thing lately to see a bunch of founder friends and people that I know of going through like the hardest times of their life. I'm like, holy, this is serious.
Oh,
Isn't that
wow.
crazy? Yeah.
I mean, I went through a hard time after I sold my business, but I think my
Yeah.
situation was different because like I had started my business when my son was 6 months old. I was going through really bad
Oh,
postpartum depression. And so my business was kind of like the thing that got me out of that like black hole. But then
wait,
I
what was the
based
business?
so my first business was called the Dapper Dog Box. So it was an
Mm.
e-commerce like pet store. I manufactured dog bandanas, definitely like
Oh,
really cute pet things. But basically I also had a high-end like subscription box. So kind of like Bark
wow.
Box, except
And
high-end,
you started this when he
beautiful.
was 6 months. So you were just like,
Yeah.
you were already kind of getting back to feeling good and ready to do something. And you were like, let's go.
No, not even feeling good. I was like feeling awful. I was going through really bad postpartum depression. And I was like,
Oh,
because
wow.
I like left my marketing career, moved across the country. We moved to California. I didn't know anyone, which in
Yeah.
hindsight was like a really stupid decision. But like the business, I thought of it one day at the gym. And literally a month later, I was sitting at Starbucks working on the logo, launched it a
Wow.
couple months later, and I grew it and I did it by myself. But it was like,
That's
that
amazing.
business like brought me back to life almost. However, I also worked myself to the ground and
Um,
really bad burnout. And then when I sold it, I was like, okay, I'm going to like apply for corporate jobs so I can have balance in my life because like,
yeah.
yeah, because I'll have balance if I work for like an Amazon or something. And I couldn't like, I wasn't getting any jobs. And I was like, what the hell? I have all this experience.
Mm,
And then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to start my own thing. And I decided to grab Amy Porterfield's Digital Course Academy. And I was like, I want to help people start their own product based business. And that's
so
kind of like where I ended up where I am today. But like, I went through a really hard year after because I was like, what am I doing with my life? And like,
wow.
I'm miserable. Like, I was so miserable. I think I was more miserable that year than I was really any other time. And I think it's because I need something to do. And I think
Yeah.
once you have your business and you're your own boss and you can be creative, you have like a sense of purpose almost. So I feel like if
Oh,
that's
absolutely. It's
taken
growth. I mean,
away, you're like,
yeah.
what do I do? So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We're creatures of growth, whatever that
Mhm.
growth is to you. It could be the smallest baby step or it could be something massive. We need to grow as humans. And so when you feel like the growth is over, it's kind of like, what's the point? And that's when
Mhm.
people get depression because it's a sense of that loss of what's the point,
Mhm.
And so I do think it's been very interesting to have those mental health conversations with friends who have more money than God and are just like this, I don't know
Wow.
what to do now. And I'm like, wow, who knew that like this is what would happen? And so
Yeah.
it makes you think like, how do you make sure that doesn't happen? And I think it's because, yeah, like you said, you want to feel like you're part of something exciting. A lot of people, your
Mhm.
team and your employees too, like you get to know them, they're like become your family, and then you're just like, see ya. So
Yeah.
it makes sense why there's this sense of disconnection after that. So I do think it's smart that you were like, let me just do the next thing I'm passionate about. That's very
Mhm.
smart to do that instead of not of letting the energy like fester in you.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And I always
Yeah.
think like I didn't get the jobs because I was meant to do what I'm doing now, like I'm meant to help
Yeah, that's a
people.
cool way
And
to see
so
it.
always
Yeah.
works out. But yeah, this was so awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm just have one more question. If
Yeah.
you just like this is kind of like a cheesy question, but like for people that are like new or early stage in their business
Yeah.
that are struggling, like what would be your best piece of advice for someone who's starting a product-based business and like they just don't know what the hell to do to grow? Like, what would you tell them?
I would really focus on, first of all, I think there's no shame in, I think in the entrepreneurship world, especially online, you see this sexy, glamorous, like quit your job and just do your passion overnight. And I think that that can serve many people who thrive on uncertainty. But for those who don't as much, there's nothing wrong with starting it first as a side hustle and starting it on the side, doing the market research. You have your job that pays your bills just enough so you at least feel somewhat comfortable. So you're not coming from this anxious scarcity mindset of like, if I don't sell, I can't feed myself this week. I don't think that's a healthy energy to create from and be creative from. So,
Mm,
one, there's no shame in that. Majority of people, Mike was a full-time athlete, traveling, boxing, doing all that. I had shows and speaking, and it wasn't like we just both had nothing we were doing. We
mm,
had other jobs and full-time things we were doing, and we took that money from those two jobs to put into it. So I think one, there's no shame in that. And then you can come from a more relaxed state of like, okay, can I take the time to do some market research? Can I see if this is a product people actually need? What is the niche? How do I stand out? What's my unique value proposition, aka what's your secret sauce? How do you stand out in the market right now? What's your voice? What's your tone of it? It
Mhm.
needs that time to grow. Like the analogy of a kid, like you can't just throw it out there and expect it to just be a teenager or an adult. It needs the development. And so I think taking the time to get as much feedback as you can about the first iteration. How can I make it better? Who is this for exactly? Who needs this product? Maybe it's a pain point you've had in your life and you're solving it. Connecting your product to a story. Storytelling has always been one of the best ways to market, but more so than ever, you're going to see that on social and on all marketing platforms is people connect to founders who are expressing that this is something they've desired in their life or this fixed something for them. And so
Mhm.
really focusing on, I would say, storytelling and doing market research and feeling good in that a little bit before you just like have this idea for a product that you're just like naked in the shower one day and thought it's $1 zillion idea, but you never, looked up to see if it a need, does it exist, is it a thing? And then you just like put $1 million into it, go into debt, and then nobody's buying it but your grandma. I think you have to,
Mhm.
you can go in some baby steps before you're just investing your whole life savings into an idea you had in the shower one day. I do think that there's a balance between yeah, be a dreamer, but also like there's nothing wrong with taking that first year and assessing stuff. That was a lot of what we did in the first year. It was not fun. I wanted to come out with like cool boxes and more expensive branding. I wanted to do all these fun things. And Mike was like, Angie,
Mhm.
not yet. In like 2 or 3 years, we can have fun, but not yet. We don't have the money to really do that yet. And I first just want to see how the
Mhm.
products helps people. I just want to build our social proof. I just want to have our website have a lot of great testimonials. So as much as I was anxious to like and eager to have the cool branding and all those fun glitzy things, I'm glad that we went slow and steady in the beginning to then get the funds to now we can do fun boxes and do all this stuff. But I had to be patient. And so that would be my best advice in the beginning is also to be patient. Be steady Eddie, but be patient.
I love that so much because I think like I have, a membership community and it's all product-based people. And I think one of the biggest things I see constantly is like, I've launched my business 6 months ago, or like I posted 2 weeks of TikTok videos, but my account isn't growing. Like
Yeah.
TikTok, I'm a failure. TikTok sucks. It doesn't work for me. I think everybody wants that like quick fix. It doesn't actually work. So I love that you coming from like you having a community. You also have two people building the brand, not just one person. And you
Yeah.
still like took the baby steps, took the time, and were patient to see the results. So I think that's
Yeah.
awesome because I think so many of us don't have the patience and like won't put in those little steps to grow the business. You're expecting like the overnight success.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's hard though when you're ambitious and you want things to move quickly. It's very hard
Mhm.
not to want it all overnight, but slow and steady does win the race. I do think there is value to getting your foundation really strong, making sure your merchant processor works, making sure your website, everything is like
Mhm.
making sure it's good. I wouldn't give maybe this same advice always to creators who don't have a physical product. I'm like, whatever, put out content, let it be messy. You can delete the video. It doesn't, I'm a little bit more messy with that.
Mhm.
This, yes, I'm still very messy, ready as a lie, but you have a physical product. It needs to, like, it can't break when it gets to people's houses. It needs to actually work. And whether it's a t-shirt or it's whatever, does your shop function well? Is there customer service? Like we said in the beginning, there's
Yeah.
more logistics, there's more of an overhead, there's more of those things that you got to smooth out before you just launch it to the world. And the next thing you know, everything, maybe it's not functioning well. So I do think physical products, they come with more headaches
Mhm.
and more overhead, but the payoff and the return can be a lot more than possibly service-based stuff. So you're just weighing out, they each have pros and cons.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I love
hmm.
that. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, this was
Yeah,
amazing. Thank you so much.
of course.
So fun and appreciate you being on the podcast.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.